anger is a fire. It does not wait for justice. It does not pause to measure consequences. It burns, first through your chest, then your thoughts, and finally, your entire day. Think about the last time you were angry, the heart racing, the mind replaying the insult. Maybe it was a stranger cutting you off in traffic. Maybe it was someone you love saying words sharper than knives. And in that moment, it felt like you had no choice, as if anger owned you. As if the only option was to release it, shouting, arguing, breaking the silence with fire. But what if I told you the real battlefield was never the insult? The Stoics believed the true war happens after, in the small invisible pause, the breath before reaction. Because here's the truth. You cannot stop people from provoking you. You cannot stop life from testing your patience. But you can stop yourself from burning alive inside your own anger. Seneca, one of Rome's greatest Stoics, once warned, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay. Delay means power. Delay means freedom. Delay means never again being a slave to your emotions." So the question is, are you ready to master that pause, to step onto the battlefield of the mind and finally win? If you want to stop anger from ruling your life, if you want to turn fire into clarity and weakness into strength, subscribe now. Because here we transform ancient Stoic wisdom into tools for modern battles, and each lesson will take you one step closer to calm, control, and unshakable strength. Hit the button, and let's walk the Stoic path together. Picture this: you wake up late. Your alarm failed, traffic is heavy, and you are already behind schedule. A horn blares behind you. Someone cuts into your lane without signaling. Your jaw tightens. Your grip on the steering wheel hardens. And in that moment, you can feel it, the spark of anger. Later that day, at work, a colleague interrupts you in front of others. They dismiss your idea. They take credit for what you said yesterday. Again, the spark returns. Your chest warms, your throat rises, and your mind whispers, react, defend yourself, attack. This is the battlefield we all live on, not the street, not the office, but the silent, invisible war inside our own minds. Anger is not only an emotion, it is a chain reaction. First comes the trigger, an insult, an obstacle, a disrespect. Then comes the judgment. This should not have happened. And finally, the explosion. Raised voices, cold silence, or silent resentment that lingers for hours. But here's the truth the Stoics discovered. The battlefield is never out there. It is always within. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled an empire while fighting wars at its borders, wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Think about that. The world can insult you, betray you, disappoint you, but none of that truly matters unless your own mind grants permission. When you are cut off in traffic, the car itself doesn't climb into your chest and twist your emotions. It is your judgment that says, "This was disrespect." When your colleague interrupts, their words are just sounds carried through air. It is your mind that transforms them into an attack. The battlefield is perception. The enemy is your own judgment, and the weapon that harms you most is your reaction. The Stoics understood this with clarity. They saw anger as a kind of temporary madness. Seneca wrote, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." Pause on that. The original insult may last 10 seconds, but your anger? It can last 10 hours, 10 days, even 10 years if you let resentment harden into hatred. Imagine carrying a burning coal in your hand, refusing to drop it, even as it scorches your skin. That is what anger is. The other person may have sparked the fire, but you are the one keeping it alive. So the first truth of this journey is simple, but difficult. You cannot control the world, but you can control whether or not you add fuel to the fire. When you see anger rising inside you, remember, this is the battlefield, not the insult, not the disrespect, but the single breath after it. And in that breath lies your freedom. We know the battlefield is within. But the question remains, how do we win? How do we stop anger from rising like a storm and taking control of our words, our actions, our very lives? The answer, according to the Stoics, begins with a simple truth. It is not events themselves that disturb us, but the judgments we attach to them. Epictetus, once a slave, later a teacher of emperors, put it this way: men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. Read that again slowly. It is not the insult itself, but our interpretation that wounds us. Not the traffic jam, but the thought, this should not happen to me. Not the disrespect, but the story we tell ourselves. They have diminished me. The Stoics held the master key to emotional control, the separation between what happens and how we choose to see it. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the Roman Empire, surrounded by war, betrayal, and politics, reminded himself daily, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Notice his words, at any moment. That is the key. The insult may arrive uninvited. The traffic may come without warning, but the judgment, that is yours to grant or to deny. Let's break this down with an example. Imagine two people, both are insulted in public. The first erupts. His face turns red, his voice rises, his dignity collapses. He becomes a puppet of his anger. The second remains calm. He smiles faintly, or perhaps says nothing at all. He does not deny the insult happened, but he refuses to add fire to it. Same event, different judgment. One becomes a prisoner of rage, the other remains free. That freedom is the Stoic key. Seneca wrote powerfully about this when he said, "A man who has been wronged is not the one who suffers the worst. The true victim is the one who chooses to be consumed by anger." The Stoics saw anger as a choice, even when it doesn't feel like one. It may rise quickly, yes, but what sustains it, what allows it to live inside us, is our agreement with it. Our willingness to repeat the insult in our minds again and again, pouring fuel on a spark until it becomes an inferno. So the key is awareness, to recognize the moment anger is born, to see clearly, this is just my judgment speaking, the event itself has no power over me. But the Stoics did not stop at philosophy. They offered tools, rituals of the mind to transform theory into practice. Marcus Aurelius, in his nightly journaling, would write reminders to himself, not to the world, but to his own heart. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, today you will meet with interference, ingratitude, arrogance, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness, but none of them can injure me. This is the mindset of armor. By expecting life to bring insults, he was never shocked when they arrived. And by reminding himself that their judgments could not touch his soul, he remained untouchable. This is the Stoic key in practice. Accept that the world will provoke you. See that the insult itself is powerless. Remember that judgment belongs to you alone. Once you understand this separation, anger loses its grip, because anger needs your agreement to survive. Take away your judgment, and the fire suffocates. The battlefield of the mind is not one with fists or words. It is one with perspective, and the Stoics give us the key to unlock it. Philosophy without practice is like a sword left in its sheath, beautiful but useless in battle. The Stoics knew this. They didn't just write about anger, they trained themselves to disarm it. So how do we apply their wisdom in daily life? How do we move from knowing the theory to mastering the fire? The answer lies in the tools, simple, practical, repeatable, each one a shield in the battlefield of the mind. Tool 1. The pause. When anger rises, the first Stoic weapon is delay. Seneca said it clearly. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. Think about it. Anger wants speed. It wants to move faster than thought, to strike before reason has a chance to intervene. It thrives in reaction, but the pause is poison to anger. The next time you feel your chest tighten, your breath quicken, your words ready to explode, stop. Do nothing. Say nothing. Just breathe. Count 3 slow breaths. Inhale, hold, exhale, repeat. This pause does not erase the anger, but it weakens its grip. It turns an automatic reaction into a conscious decision, and often that tiny delay is enough to save you from regret. Tool 2. The breath. The Stoics didn't speak about breathwork as modern psychology does, but they practiced presence. And the breath is the anchor of presence. When insulted, focus on your breathing. Feel the air fill your lungs. Feel your heartbeat slow. This shift grounds you in the present moment, away from the storm of thoughts about the past insult or the imagined future revenge. A calm breath is a calm mind, and a calm mind cannot be owned by anger. Tool 3. Journaling. Marcus Aurelius kept his meditations, not as a book for the world, but as letters to himself, reminders, corrections, shields. When anger comes, write. Take the poison out of your head and put it on paper. Ask yourself, what triggered me? Was it truly harmful or just my judgment? Will this matter in 10 days, 10 months, 10 years? Often, the act of writing shrinks the problem. What felt like fire becomes words, small, containable, almost laughable. Journaling transforms anger into reflection, and reflection is the birthplace of wisdom. Tool 4. Silence as a weapon. Not every battle needs a sword. Sometimes the greatest strength is silence. Epictetus advised, "Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. He can anger you only when you permit yourself to be disturbed by him." Think of that. Every time you explode, you give power away. But when you remain silent, calm and unshaken, you keep your sovereignty. Silence disarms the aggressor. They expect your rage, your defense, your counterattack. When you offer none, the battle ends before it begins. This is not weakness, it is mastery. It is choosing not to wrestle in the mud, but to walk above it. Tool 5. The Stoic reflection. At the end of the day, review yourself. Marcus Aurelius did this every night. He asked, "Where did I lose control today? Where did I remain calm? How can I improve tomorrow?" This is training. Like a soldier sharpening his blade, the Stoic sharpens his mind. Not to be perfect, but to be prepared. These are not just ideas, they are practices, and like all training, repetition is key. Delay, breathe, write, stay silent, reflect. Every time you practice, you weaken anger's hold, you build the muscle of restraint, you reclaim the battlefield of your mind, and slowly, what once felt impossible, resisting the fire, becomes your second nature. The tools are simple, but what happens when you actually use them? When you take the pause, when you breathe, when you stay silent, that is when transformation begins. Example 1. The road. A car swerves into your lane without warning. The old you reacts instantly, horn blaring, window down, words sharp and loud. For the next 10 minutes, your chest is tight. Your thoughts replay the insult. You arrive at your destination already drained. But the Stoic you pauses, you breathe, you remember, this event has no power over me unless I give it power. The other driver speeds away. The fire in your chest fades as quickly as it came. and your day continues, untouched. Same event, different outcome. That is transformation. Example 2. The argument at home. A loved one says something unfair, maybe even cruel. The old you snaps back, words flying like arrows. The argument escalates, and soon both sides are wounded. What began as a small remark becomes a night of silence, resentment, and regret. But the Stoic you delays. You say nothing. You breathe. You let the first wave of anger pass. When you finally speak, it is not fire, but calm. And instead of conflict, the moment becomes a conversation. Same words spoken. 3. The workplace. A colleague takes credit for your work. The old you storms into confrontation. Rage colors your tone. Others see anger, not justice. Your reputation suffers, not theirs. But the Stoic you writes it down, reflects, asks, will this matter in 10 years? What is truly within my control? Instead of reacting, you choose patience. At the right moment, you present your work with clarity and dignity. Office politics, you stand untouchable. The ripple effect transformation does not stop with a single choice. Each time you resist anger, you strengthen your control. Each time you pause, you train your mind to remain calm. And soon, people notice. They begin to see you as the steady one, the person who does not lose control, the one who cannot be provoked. This is the silent respect that Stoicism creates, not through domination. And the deepest transformation is not what others see, it is what you feel. Anger used to own you, now you own it. You see insults as passing shadows. You see disrespect as noise, not truth. You no longer waste your days carrying burning coals in your hands. The mind becomes quieter, the body lighter, the heart freer, and what once felt like a prison, reacting to every spark, becomes freedom. The Stoics never promised a life without provocation, but they promised something greater, that no one and nothing can take your inner peace unless you hand it over. And once you live this truth, you will see. The fire of anger was never stronger than your ability to remain still. This is transformation. This is mastery. We began with fire, the kind that rises in your chest, blinds your reason, and consumes your peace. Is outside, when in truth, it is always within. We learned the Stoic key, the separation between the event and our judgment. We practiced the tools, the pause, the breath, the journal, the silence, the reflection. And we witnessed the transformation, how these practices turn chaos into clarity, conflict into calm, insult into insignificance. Now it is time to bring everything together. The insult is never the battlefield. What happens to you is not what destroys your peace. It is how you interpret it. Remember Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Lesson 2. Silence is strength. Not every battle deserves your words. Often the strongest response is no response at all. Becomes your master. He can anger you only when you permit yourself to be disturbed by him. Lesson 3. Journaling turns anger into wisdom. Do not let your rage live only in your chest. Write it, question it, shrink it. Seneca warned us, anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. Writing is restraint. Restraint is mastery. Will you get angry again? Of course. You are human. Battlefield clearly. You know the enemy is not the world. It is your judgment. And you carry with you the tools of the Stoics. So the next time the fire rises, remember, you have a choice. You can burn, or you can breathe, and in that single breath lies your freedom. If this message resonated with you, if you want to continue building calm, control, and unshakable strength, then subscribe now. Oh, what emotion are you struggling to master today? and join us on this journey as we continue to bring the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus into the battles of modern life. This is Echoes of Stillness, and here we do not run from the storm, we learn to be still within it.